G'day, I'm one of those guys from one of those lifestyle programs, and normally I'm helping people with how to do gardening, but today I'm helping people with how to do theology. Fortunately, these two things aren't that different, and you can understand how to do theology better when you know how to do some gardening. Firstly, gardening starts with plants, and you need to understand your plant. How much water does it like? How much shade does it enjoy? This is a beautiful little African violet. And just like gardening starts with plants, theology starts with individual passages, and you need to understand what they're about and what they mean. We call this exegesis. It's just a fancy word for saying working out what it means. But it's not enough just to know what your plant's like, you need to go and visit where they live. This is called an arboretum. It's where gardeners and botanists come to have a look at how plants live with each other in their natural environment. How does this guy affect these other guys? And looking at passages in their natural environment is called biblical theology. We look at the natural ecology of the Bible and how the various passages contribute to that ecology or biblical theology. Sometimes we'll look at a special set of passages to see how the ecology or biblical theology works. Now, while looking at where they live can be helpful, being a bit more organised can be helpful as well. This is called a botanical garden. It's where botanists put plants that are similar together, like roses and trees and spiky plants, and they look at them to see what they've got in common. It's systemising plants. And in theology, we do the same thing. We put different ideas and Bible passages together that are in common, and we call that systematic theology. You might have stuff on Jesus, we call that Christology. Stuff about people, we call that anthropology. Stuff about church, we call that ecclesiology. Now, having a botanical garden is helpful, but there's even other places we can learn about plants. Gardeners like me, lifestyle programs like mine, and other experts will give you great advice on gardening. There's all sorts of books and magazines out there. Some of them are as good a gardener as I am, but not all of them are, so you've got to be careful. In the theology, it's the same. We call it historical theology. There's all sorts of people out there willing to give us advice on how to understand God and His Bible better. Even throughout history, there are people who've written books and created creeds and produced controversies. And they can help us as we look at their discussions, their conclusions, even their mistakes. But once we've got it all together, what are we going to do then? When you've got all your information about plants together, then you're ready to plant your own garden. We're just planting a little veggie patch in here. Sometimes you've got to pull up some weeds, and sometimes you've got to add some new plants. In theology, we call this ethics, because you don't just study theology for the sake of it, you do it to change your life and, more importantly, know God better. So when you do theology, sometimes you're going to have to take some ideas out, add some new ones in there, and sometimes you're even going to have to change your life. So now you know what we're going to do this week. We're going to do some exegesis, some biblical theology, some systematic theology, some historical theology, and all of this so that we can do some ethics, and that's making decisions that please God. So good gardening and good theology.